So I thought that was a fun fact to share with you all. Okay, so there has been a lot of chatter about Melissa Gorga and her PR or publicist or that guy, what's his name? Irna? I can't remember. Anyways, everyone knows who I'm talking about at this point. And I'm going to make this one very short because I feel like it's not that important. Like, I feel like people in that industry, they get rid of their PR person like all the time. It's not uncommon for someone to part ways in business or to find another person to do the PR for them. So I don't really understand why everyone is making such a big deal over the whole thing, especially this guy's not on the show. Like, we've seen him on the show. We've seen him at, attending Melissa Gorga's events, at her fashion shows. Like, obviously we've seen him on the show, but I don't think we ever see Melissa talking to him on camera. So I don't understand why there's like such big hoopla when it comes to the whole thing. People get rid of their PR people all the time. And from what Melissa said in her podcast last week, basically she hired a full-time assistant and she is still doing business with her former PR guy, right? So on a deal-to-deal basis. So everyone is trying to say, oh, it has to do with that rumor because he showed his loyalty to Margaret, and then, Melissa couldn't fire him right then and there because, it would have been suspicious. Yada. Like, I don't know where people are getting all of this information. Like, it sounds like a very good story, but so far no one has been able to back up anything. So at this point, I'm just going to classify that one in the category of gossip, just simple gossip, right? And then people are saying, oh, they stopped following each other on social media. They removed all of the pictures that they have together. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen that. Like, from what I could see, Melissa still follows him on social media. From what I can see, he still follows her. From what I can see, they were together last week at Melissa's cousin-in-law's house, and they seemed like they were fine. In Joe's podcast last week, Joe said that guy is still family, like still consider him like family. There's no issues there on that front. So I don't know, like, to me, just based on the fact that they still follow each other, that they were in each other's company last week, he still, if you go on his website, he still has pictures of Melissa and events that he did with her. So I don't know what, everyone is saying at this point, but to me, it seems like they have just, Melissa has just hired like a full-time person and they're just dealing with each other on a deal-to-deal basis. So I'm just going to believe what Melissa is saying. So since we're still on the topic of Melissa Gorga, okay, so I have to actually mention that because last week, Dana Wilkie and Kim D did a live interview together on YouTube. And of course, I didn't watch it live, I watched it later on. And eventually, last week I covered the whole topic about that girl, right? That Nicole girl, that casting agent who had a lot to say about who she thinks Melissa was, I don't know how many years ago. So anyways, Dana asked Kim D about the interview, right? And she said that the other podcast, David Yontef, that he had an interview with Nicole, and what did Kim D think of that, right? So do you guys remember last week I said that I felt like there was probably a mole in Kim D's Patreon, or someone that is on Kim's Patreon and reported back to David that Kim was planning on having this Nicole girl on her podcast, right? Because for those of you who have not listened to my previous episode, let me just give you a refresher. Might not have been the one before this one, but maybe a couple of episodes ago. So anyways, to make a long story short, Kim D had the girls from All About Their Truth on her podcast. Okay, so behind the paywall, it's on her Patreon. You cannot find that interview anywhere else, right? And I'm not playing any recording because obviously that's not fair. It's behind her paywall, so I have to respect that. But I could always tell you what it was about. So at the end of that interview with the girls from All About Their Truth, Kim D did not mention the name of that particular girl, Nicole, but she said that she had someone from the past that wanted to come out and tell the truth, or what she perceives as the truth, and talk about Melissa's past. So then the two girls from All About Their Truth encouraged Kim to do so, and they were just like, yeah, you should have her on, right? So then Kim's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I will reach out to her. I think I'm gonna. Like, thank you, girls, for your opinion. I value what you say to me. You are my mentors. I take everything that you tell me, like, at face value. So let me reach out to this girl, kind of thing, right? So the following week, David Yontef released that episode with that girl Nicole, right? So in my mind, I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, he probably just like reached out to her first and conducted the interview and released it. That's what I originally thought. Turns out, and I did not know this, guys, but now I'm sure you know, but it turns out that Kim D and David had already done the interview together. They already had done the interview together. And then I guess because of the situation right now between Kim D and David, Kim D does not want to be involved with anything that has to do with David's podcast. Okay, she was clear about that during her live with Dana Wilkie. But so she said that she was part of that interview, that it was already recorded before when she was still on the podcast with David, and that because I guess they don't have they didn't have a real agreement, like between David Yontef and Kim D. They didn't have a real agreement, or she didn't sign a release or something like that. They don't have like an official contract between the two of them, according to Kim D. That's what she's saying, right? So I guess she said that her lawyer, Doug Anton, sent some sort of paperwork to David, basically telling him that he can no longer use Kim's likeness or like past like that kind of stuff, interviews and stuff, right? So David took the interview that they had previously recorded together, and he removed Kim's voice, and then it's just him in that interview. It's just him and Nicole, right? So I don't know if he did that like on by himself on his own. Like maybe he used AI technology. Maybe he hired someone to do that, or maybe like because that's like pretty sophisticated. I don't know how to do that. So maybe he does. Like he works a lot, or maybe he knows the right people that can do something like that. But now it kind of makes sense, guys, right? Because when you listen to the actual interview, at times, that Nicole girl, sometimes her responses, they seemed a little off, or she seemed very scattered, and it wasn't like completely natural. So I think they try to do their best, like with editing, and try to make the interview flow. But I think that's why at times her responses don't always seem to match the question, and that's probably because they had to edit quite a bit of Kim's questions in there, right? So I thought that was very interesting. One thing that I will say though, I think Dana covered that when she spoke about it privately, but not necessarily during her live with Kim D. But she asked Kim if she believes this Nicole girl, and then Kim said, yeah, I believe her. She has no reason to lie and all of that. I have something that I find kind of interesting when it comes to that whole situation. So here it is. You have this Nicole girl that is friendly or friends with Kim D. And Kim D says, this girl has no reason to lie. I believe her. There's another person, and her name is Jen DeDolce, who used to be Melissa Gorga's friend, like a good friend. We've seen her on the show, and even Melissa said she was in her wedding. So this girl, that Jen DeDolce, is also friendly with Kim D. Okay, I've heard Kim D say this multiple times in interviews. I think even on the podcast with David, she said that. So she is friendly with Jen DeDolce. A few months ago, Jen Dolce did an interview with Andy, I believe the real Andy of Beverly Hills. And she just wanted to, I'm actually not sure what she came to talk about, because we didn't really learn anything that we didn't really already know. But anyway, she did an interview with them, and she said about the whole dancer thing, right? She said that she was friends with Melissa back then, and that she knows that she wasn't, and you know, that was just basically a bunch of lies. She knows that Melissa was never that. That's what Jen said. And it's important to note that Melissa and Jen do not speak to each other. They basically don't have a relationship since Jen tried to come on the show and trash her. So it would be in her advantage to, you know, tell the truth, since she doesn't really like Melissa. But still, in a moment like this, she said that those rumors were not true, that she was never that, right? So I've also heard Kim D say that Jen Dolce does not lie, and that, you know, she believes Jen. Like, maybe she believes Jen's for other stuff, but she also said that she doesn't lie. So in that particular instance, someone's lying, you know, and you can't be friends with both women and say, well, I believe you when you say that, and I believe you when you say that. Like, which one is telling the truth? I don't know. I don't care. I feel like it's such an old story. But I find it very interesting that both women are friends with Kim D, and they're saying two completely opposite things about Melissa. Jen, who was very close to Melissa and actually in her wedding, says that Melissa was not or was never a dancer. This other girl, casting agent over there, who has lots of people that are pissed about her, they're saying that she has stole their money, not provided the right products to her. The pictures were not of good quality. She has changed company names 100 times. She has moved all over the country. Like, you know, there's reports of, like, you know, at the Better Business Bureau about this person. And this person was never really close to Melissa, right? And she also admitted that. Maybe she knew her from back in the days. Maybe she knew her just because, you know, they live in Jersey, but this girl doesn't have a relationship with her, and she doesn't really have a very good track record. And when it comes to that, guys, I've said it before. Your past is your past. No one's holier than thou. People can make mistakes. But there is one thing that I would say. If you steal money from people, if you steal, let's say that it's true. I'm not saying that she is, but let's say that those allegations about this Nicole girls are true, okay? If you steal, it means that you lie. You also lie, right? That's one thing that I know. If you steal from people, it means that you lie to people. Just wanted to say that. So when it comes to that whole Nicole girl, I don't give her no credibility. And to be honest with you guys, on a lighter note, I feel like at this point in time, when it comes to the whole subject of, oh, was Melissa ever a dancer? Oh, I believe this. I don't believe that. You know, Candy Burris? She's doing this dungeon tour right now in Atlanta. And we've seen, like, you know, Cynthia Bailey went on there. And it was like, you know, she does like this thing, right? We're talking about Candy here. I'm surprised Candy has not reached out to Melissa and Joe Gorga as of yet. Because there's been so many rumors about them, about the whole stripper pass and dancer pass. I feel like Candy should have reached out to them and invite them to do a special at the dungeon tour. It's like, I could see Joe Gorga walk in there as the elephant man. You know, Joe, he said he used to have like that elephant underwear thing, or like, I don't know, like he used to have that. I could see him walk on the stage with that. And then Melissa, he always complains that Melissa doesn't even dance for him. Then I feel like she could just do that on the stage at that point. And it's like, you know, they could turn that whole situation around, because it's been like more than 11 years people have talked about this. Nobody has been able to provide any receipts. They just brought, like, you know, this lying girl, Nicole. They've been, you know, that Angelo guy that everybody's supposed to feel sorry for. They're saying he lost his entire life. His girlfriend, she didn't want to stay with him because, you know, and then when David asked Nicole why did she break up with him? Just because he came on the show, oh, you know, they're Greek, and Greek people, that's not, you know, it's kind of taboo, that kind of stuff. So because he did that, and they didn't know about his former past as a manager at that club, you know, his family kind of disowned him, so she broke up with him. How is that Melissa's fault? I don't understand. How is that Melissa's fault? Didn't Angelo know he was Greek before he decided to get mic'd on the show? It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyways, I feel like, you know, Kendi, when she had that whole situation with Phaedra about the lie and with Portia and all of that. And then eventually they started talking about Kendi having a dungeon in her home. So then Kendi said that at some point in time, she didn't want people to Google her name, and then the first things to come up were like the negative stuff about, you know, the rumor about, you know, the drug stuff with Portia and all of that, and the dungeon. So she decided to have, you know, a dungeon tour. So now whenever people Google Kendi and dungeon, that's what comes up. It's something positive. It's her tour. It's her just going across the country and doing her thing, right? I feel like at this point, Melissa and Jody should do that. Joe should come out as the Elephant Man on the dungeon tour with Kendi, and Melissa should do like a friendly dance for Joe. And then from that point on, whenever people Google their name, that's what comes up. Maybe Melissa can even perform on display with Kendi. They're both singers. I feel like it would be a great match. And then down to the bottom of the search engine, you haters go.